So this is a structure we use across multiple accounts to generate performance. And here's another example like this and like this. Over the last couple of years, I've experimented on dozens of accounts. This is the best structure that derived from it for 2026. So this is the entire structure. We have a main campaign, a bitcap campaign, a promo campaign, and a retargeting campaign. And I will go through them one by one. So first of all, we have the main campaign. What is it used for? This campaign is a max volume campaign, and we use it for top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel, literally everything. We have all in one campaign mixed. And this is, by the way, the first thing that many people get wrong, because they still look at courses or advice from 2018 where they say, oh, run a separate top of funnel campaign, middle of funnel campaign, bottom of funnel campaign. No, we have everything in one campaign. And the reason for that is because Facebook will determine the targeting on the ad level, not even the ad set level. Yes, you said it there, but it determines it on the ad level and just figures out who will convert most likely from that specific ad in that ad set. And creating more campaigns that will target the same audience anyway will just create overlap. Whereas since Meta is quite smart and already scans the creative and already understands, oh, this is the top of funnel creative or will only work for bottom of funnel people, so let's show that creative to that audience. It already does all of that. So there's no point in separating. This is why we have the main campaign where we run all the tests, where we have all the winning ad sets, where we hit all the awareness levels. This is basically the main campaign where we do everything. So we run this on max volume. Why, I will explain later when I go over the bitcap campaign. We run this on max volume, so we have always a steady ad spend every single day, and that we can control the budget and actually scale it up. This campaign can be an ABO or a CBO, although I recommend the CBO because, again, the algorithm is pretty smart already this year. So if you have an ad that has potential, the algorithm will spend on it. If your CBO does not spend on a specific ad set, it doesn't mean that it's a bad decision from Meta. It just means that this ad is not good, and then it doesn't spend on it. It's as simple as that. And even if you see some ad sets that are like, oh, but this has a 4 rows, it only spent $100, and then the top spender has only a 2 rows, right? So it should spend on that 4 rows ad. No, that's also wrong, because there's not just profitability, there's also scalability. If the algorithm chose to not spend more on the 4 rows ad, it means, well, this ad is just restricted in the audience that actually resonates with it. And this is why the algorithm doesn't spend more on it, because it understands that if it was to spend majority of the budget on that 4 rows ad instead of the 2 rows ad, that 4 rows ad would perform terribly and even worse than the 2 rows ad. And this is the reason it doesn't spend on it more. So you can really fully trust the judgment. A good example of this case is a top of funnel ad versus a bottom funnel ad. The bottom of funnel ad will have always higher ROAS, but it will be limited in scale, and it doesn't make sense to spend more on it. That's the same logic the Facebook algorithm goes by. No, anyway, this is why I like to run it as a CBO. You can do ABO, but CBO is more efficient. So within that CBO, you can really launch any number of ad sets. Usually we have 5 to 10, sometimes 20 ad sets running actively. And the way we test and run ads here is very simple. You just launch them all on Monday, and then you give them 7 days to spend. If they spend and become winners, awesome. If they don't spend after 7 days, just turn them off again, because that means they are losers. By the way, when you launch those ad sets, you want to set up a minimum spending limit though, so it spends at least like $50 to $70 in 7 days. I know it's very small, and depending on your AOV, maybe not enough of a testing budget, but this is the exact purpose. We force Facebook to start testing it, but then because it's a CBO, it either sees that it performs and allocates more budget to it, or if it doesn't, it simply will spend this minimum ad spend every single day, and then you can just turn it off again. This prevents that the CBA logs into just 1 or 2 ad sets and doesn't spend on anything else, and it is also cheaper than testing in an ABO. Now, to sum it up, you just launch those ad sets every single week, you let them run for 1 week, and then you turn off the non-spenders and the losers, and you keep the winners. And this is what you keep doing every single week. It's as simple as that. So you add new ad sets to it. The winners scale automatically because it's a CBO, and if the whole campaign level ROAS or CPA is great, you can just increase the budget, and this is how it scales. Very simple. And then what you also want to do is to include 3 to 5 variations per ad set of that given ad that you test. So some people use ad sets just to run a lot of ads inside there randomly. This is not what we want to do. You want to dedicate one ad set to one concept. For example, you could say you want to run a newsletter style ad, but then you actually split test there. So you might split test different angles. So 3 headlines that go into different angles, or like different benefits of your product or different pain points. And then you pick imagery that suits that headline, but the ad format is still the same. So by doing this, you first of all run a free split test, because based on budget allocation, you already see what's more scalable and what resonates more with people. But also if you run, for example, a video ad, we would have just 3 to 5 variations of that video ad with 3 different hooks. So that if one hook doesn't really resonate, you don't just waste the entire ad, but another hook might perform well, resonate, hook in people, and then still give it the best chance of becoming a winning ad. So you want to make sure that each ad set is for one specific concept that you test, and then just input the split testing variations of that concept into that ad set. And then, as mentioned before, scaling is as simple as increasing the campaign budget. That's it. This is the main campaign. Now, the last few months I've experimented with this one, and that is the bid cap campaign. Why do we run a bid cap campaign if we run max volume? And also, why don't we run this campaign as a bid cap campaign? So I have a longer video explaining that. I will link it in the description. You can check it out later. The reason for that is steady spend. There might be some low seasons when people buy less. For example, this is usually always the case after a bigger promo or a holiday or things like that. But it doesn't mean that you can't nurture your funnel in the meantime. And the other reason is that many people don't actually know what the right bid for their campaign is. Often they would set a very optimistic or very low CPA target, and then they would see the campaign only spent on the bottom of funnel because those people are able to convert with that low CPA, but the top of funnel not anymore. And then they just end up emptying their funnel and they're in trouble because now nobody is ready to buy. And then everything goes down and the campaign just stops spending. So this is why we run this as max volume campaign, not as a bid cap campaign. Now, why do we still have a bid cap campaign? Because the last few months I've been experimenting with this. You know that there are some people, or maybe you do it as well, that surf scale on great days, not just on Black Friday, but also on great days. And in a way, this bid cap campaign does the same for you. So what we do here is create a campaign where we put in all winning ads on a broad ad set, of course. By the way, just like in the main campaign, everything is broad. And what we do is we set a high daily budget, but with your ideal bid cap. And now what happens on great days, for example, for some people weekends are strong, for some people Mondays. What happens on great days is that you'll find usually higher ROAS and higher purchase volume on those days. Let's say on weekends, right? Now, instead of needing to always kind of adjust your budget and kind of guess, okay, how good will this weekend be? Should I increase my budget even further? Instead of thinking about that and thinking about surf scaling, the bidcamp campaign will simply surf scale for you. If it's a great day and it can fulfill your bid, it will simply spend up to all the budget that you set on there. And this is how you can suddenly scale on great days without needing to actively sit at the ads manager. And it's even less likely to do mistakes like this because the algorithm usually does less mistakes than a human. So this is why we have this. I've been experimenting with this the last months, and this is great. It boosts performance overall. Now the next campaign that we have is only temporary. This campaign is a promo campaign, and essentially it's set up in a way that we have an ad set with all the winning ads that we have, and then we have a broad setting, a warm setting, and a hot setting. So in the warm setting we have all the people who engaged with our page, content, or ads. In the hot setting we have people who added to cart, visited the website, and so on. And in the broad, we just have broad. And usually the broad actually spends the most and outperforms because, again, the algorithm knows better, usually. So those ad sets are essentially the same in terms of what kind of ads are inside, but the audience settings are different. We just have the winning ads in here. And we run this separately because obviously you want to control your promo ads separately from your main ads, and maybe the ROAS or CPA target is different because now you have an offer on there and this is how you can control it. And then once the sale is over, you can just switch it off. Now lastly, we sometimes do retargeting manually. Now I already mentioned here the main campaign does everything: customer acquisition, retargeting, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. So why do we have retargeting separately? Well, sometimes your efforts are so great that the frequency of the account is low. It could be higher. Is just low, which is great, but it means it could be higher. And if it was a bit higher, we would be retargeting more and converting more people. So when we see we can actually empty the funnel a bit more aggressively without emptying it completely, because we're also building the funnel, then we would run catalog ads for retargeting or a winning ad set. Essentially the same like here, the hot retargeting ad set with all winners inside, but separately in this campaign with retargeting settings. And again, this is on occasionally. So if we see that, hey, the frequency is creeping up, we have a frequency of 2+ for the last 7 days, then we might heavily reduce the budget here or turn it off again so that the frequency stays in balance. And yeah, those 2 campaigns are basically the only campaigns we always run. Now, there will be some people who say, okay, but what if I have multiple products? What if I target multiple countries? What if I have many SKUs? So one important thing to understand is that this main campaign is not the only campaign. It's just the main campaign per business objective. So if you have another SKU, that's another business objective. And especially if the product economics of that SKU are different, because then of course you want to go and optimize for another CPA or ROAS target. And then if you open a new country and want to advertise in that country, then as well that's another business objective. So we will have another campaign of that. So this is how we end up having multiple campaigns, of course, but only for different products, different SKUs, different countries, things like that. Not to just separate between middle of funnel, bottom of funnel, and so on. So yeah, this is the structure I run that performs so well. If you have any questions, ask below. But that's really all you need. After this, you can fully focus on creative strategy, launching new products, and so on. With this, you should be good at least until the end of the year without needing to refine or change your structure, and you can just focus on what actually moves the needle. If you're spending 30K per month or more and want me to help you scale on Meta, click the first link in the description because this is exactly what I do. Also, don't forget to check out the video where I go into more depth about AutoBid versus BidCap. Keep scaling. Bye.